welcome to Novel Feelings, where two psychologists take a deep dive into your favorite books. I'm Priscilla.
And I'm Elise. Today we are telling you all about what to expect in Season 4 in 2025. That's right, it's happening.
Woohoo! So, remember to follow us on Instagram, join our Facebook community, or subscribe to our blog on novelfeelings.com to keep up to date with the show.
And you can also support the show by buying us a coffee. So that is making a once-off donation. Any amount, no matter how small, helps keep the show sustainable. All of those links are in our show notes. But back to the main event, which is Season 4, of course. Now, we were umming and ahhing a little bit about whether to do Season 4. So thank you to everybody who contributed to our posts and our pleas for thoughts and feedback that we've been giving over the past couple of months. And yeah, we ultimately decided that it would be, a great idea, but we wanted to, I suppose, enhance our content and make it even better than it has been in the past. So it's basically the same, but there are going to be just a few minor changes, which will hopefully make Season 4 our best one yet.
We really would love to engage more with you guys and know what you're thinking and make it more of a community. So that's part of why we've made the changes that we're making.
In terms of the key facts, though, so we are going to have one book every 2 months, just what we did with our last book club season. So we will be announcing all of the books today, though, so you can plan ahead if you want to and read ahead if you wish. As per usual, our episodes will start with non-spoilers and then go into spoilers in the second half. So if you are not sure yet or you haven't had a chance to read the book, feel free to still listen to the episode. You won't be, you absolutely will not be spoiled until we very clearly warn you of when that spoiler is coming up.
Yes, there will be our spoiler music thingy that happens. We will post book club questions in our detailed show notes and chat about the books in our Facebook community group. If you're on Facebook, search Novel Feelings Community in the search bar and we should pop up. If you're not interested in the book club, that's also okay. We will still do our usual author interviews and written reviews as we've always done.
Yeah, let's maybe just talk about some of the books that we have planned for Season 4 in 2025. We won't tell you all about them now, as it would be quite a long episode to go through all of these biographies and these briefs, but we will post links in our show notes. So for January, we are going to be talking about Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin.
For March, we will be reading Hospital by Sanya Rushdie.
In May, we will be covering Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert.
And in July, we are reading I Want to Die, But I Want to Eat Tteokbokki by Beck Sai.
In September, we'll be covering Freshwater by a.k.a. Emezi.
And lastly, in November, we will be reading Alone with You in the Ether by Olivia Blake.
You might have noticed some themes amongst all of these authors. This season, we have specifically chosen books by authors who are Black, Indigenous and or people of colour in collaboration with the lovely folks at Amplify. So if you haven't heard of Amplify, they are an online bookstore that aims to diversify your bookshelf and only includes books by authors who are Black, Indigenous and or people of colour. And really excitingly, we have an interview coming up with Marina from Amplify. But just a couple of notes about how our collaboration and our partnership is going to work. So first of all, the books that we've chosen for the book club will be available to purchase in a bundle. So if you are keen to just purchase all of those books in one go, we've made that really easy for you. So you can do that by going to the Amplify Bookstore website or by visiting their brick and mortar location. So Amplify do have a pop-up bookshop, which is going to be open in Melbourne from November until February. Marina will tell you a little bit more about that in the interview.
Amplify Bookstore has generously offered 10% off the purchase of the book bundle that we've just mentioned or any individual books in that bundle with the discount code NovelFeelings10. So that's NovelFeelings10. You can visit amplifybookstore.com to purchase any of these books or any of their other books, which they have a pretty excellent collection. So you might want to check out that catalog.
Absolutely. But without further ado, let's introduce Marina from Amplify. And a huge thank you, of course, to Marina for agreeing to come on the show and to Amplify for partnering with us in 2025.
Well, thank you, Marina, for joining us today. This is very exciting for me because, well, I've bothered you quite a bit in the past with my purchases.
Purchase is really bothering someone. I don't.
But yes, thank you for joining us today. For our listeners who aren't familiar with Amplify Bookstore, can you please tell us about Amplify's mission?
So Amplify Bookstore is a mostly online bookstore that is dedicated to selling books by authors who are Black, Indigenous and or people of colour. We started it out of the knowledge that, well, the realisation that these authors are vastly underrepresented in the publishing industry. They only make up about 10, 11% of what's published, which is an American stat. And to be honest, the Australian statistic on that is probably worse, but it's unrecorded. So it just makes it hard to find those books. And it also then feeds into this like really toxic feedback loop of the publishing industry and like gatekeepers at large thinking they're not profitable or people don't want them. So we are making sure people can find them, making sure that everyone knows they exist, and making sure that people can see that there is a huge demand for them because there's this huge swath of readers who are being underserved.
So quite literally amplifying the voices of authors who are underrepresented.
Yeah, it's a very literal name that we came up with.
It's a great name. I know Amplify has now been around for a few years. How, if at all, has Amplify changed since its launch, and what have you learnt since launching?
So Amplify was started just by my friend and now colleague, co-founder Xuan, and it's still just the two of us running it and working on it. And neither of us had retail experience or actually knew anything about running a bookstore. So we've learnt that along the way. There's been bits and pieces that have sort of still slotted in like a year, 2 years down the line, but I think we've got there now. But what we actually do and the books we sell and the authors that we platform have always been in the same, in line with the same mission. So it hasn't changed that much in that regard. But yeah, it's grown a bit. We've moved a few times just to upgrade how much room we've got.
How old is Amplify now?
It will be 4 on the 12th of November, 2024.
Well, that's exciting.
So at the time of release, it will be a recent birthday. So happy birthday to Amplify, of course. It's such an important mission, and it's been great to see. It's been great to see the bookstore grow, and your online following, of course, has grown too. So yeah, it's wonderful to see so many people getting involved and really passionate about the mission.
Like, we knew it was always going to be sort of a community-oriented project, but it's been really like heartwarming and uplifting to see that we have actually really built like a community around our socials and the store itself.
Yeah, I remember walking around maybe like Big Design Market or Finders Keepers one time, and I could see like 3 or 4 of those Amplify totes, and I was like, fellow readers, that's cool.
Oh, I'm so jealous. I would get photos of people wearing the totes, and I never saw anyone in person.
Oh no.
People wear them sometimes when they come to an event that we're selling at, and I know you.
A very good fashion choice.
Yes. Well, if I see any next time, I'll take a photo and send them to you.
Thank you.
Yeah. What are some of your favorite books that Amplify has in stock at the moment?
At the moment, it's been a really strong year in Asian Australian debuts and releases broadly. So I can't reach them. At the moment, some of my recent favorites this year have been Jade and Emerald by Michelle Sito, The Burrow by Melanie Cheng, which has just come out, The Degenerates by Raiden Richardson, which came out a couple months ago, and it came out earlier this year, but Armour by Sarah De Silva has also been one of my favorites this year. I've had a really good reading year, so I could keep going, so I'm going to stop.
Yeah. That's cool. The Bar just got a strong review from me, so I really love that one.
I believe that was a 5-star review that you gave. So
yeah. But that's, and Jade and Emerald is on my TBR. It's sitting on my shelf at the moment, so I'm excited to get to that one as well.
I feel like we have pretty similar tastes, so you'll love it.
Yeah, excellent.
very good overlap. And of course, we have chosen 6 books for our book club collaboration, which we introduced at the start of the episode. I'm just curious if you've read any of them, and if you have, can you give us maybe a little bit of a hint at your thoughts?
Read about half. Get a Life, Chloe Brown is one of my all-time favorite books because that whole trilogy is incredible. Chloe Brown is such a tender and sensitive portrayal of chronic illness, like physical chronic pain and anxiety, and it being on both sides of the relationship rather than only one of them supporting the other, which is, I feel like, often what you get in that kind of narrative. And it's all done with so much care. And Talia Hibbert is like quite open online, the author, about coming to these things, usually with a lot of lived experience. And you can really tell in the way that she writes about things. And I've also read I Want to Die, But I Want to Eat Tteokbokki, which, to be so honest, was not for me. But you know what? I envy the people who it is for, because I do know that people love it quite a lot, but it's just, if you've ever been depressed or in therapy at all, it's you already know and have gone far beyond any of the observations in that book.
I've heard such mixed things about that book, which is one of the reasons we chose it, because we thought it might be interesting to sort of, go into maybe some of the reasons why people don't like it or haven't responded well to it for various reasons. But we have a bit of a tendency to pick books that we've already read and we love. So sometimes we need to pick those that are maybe a little bit more divisive.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people have gotten a lot out of it. I just think that probably none of those people have had to go to therapy before. So, like, good for them.
Yeah.
I would say, though, on that one, there are some, like, genuinely problematic bits about the psychiatrist and some of the things they say, which is very just sort of like of the era and of East Asian attitudes to mental health. And I've also read Freshwater, but I listened to it on audio, which was not the way to go, like probably 4 years or so ago. And I don't remember it that well because it's like kind of a fever dream of a book. Like, I remember thinking, this is incredible, this is so intelligent, I need to read it like with my eyes so that I actually absorb what's going on properly.
Yeah.
But it's very unique and I can't remember what happens. But I've seen, I do know that there's been a lot of like discourse because the author has gone in interviews to say that they're not a fan of how basically Western media has picked up on some of the themes. See, now I'm not entirely sure. I actually should have fact-checked this before I started yapping. But I think, because I might be like saying it completely the wrong way around, but I think, if I remember right, it's that the book gets classed a lot as magical realism, but the author is coming at it has written it as from like an Igbo spirituality lens, and it's not like magic, it's just sort of like belief system, like their belief system. And so there's like a weird sort of colonialist lens on viewing a narrative told that way as magic instead of just like a different way to view the world. And then that element of it is also very much what ties in with what it gets picked up on for being mental healthy. It's worth looking up some interviews.
Yeah. That's just a good reminder to us of the importance of listening to other author interviews and reviews before we just go in with our own thoughts as well, and trying our best to not view books in a vacuum of our own opinions and our first impressions. So good to know. Thank you. Well, that all bodes well generally for the sort of content that we're going to be covering in our next season, though, which is very exciting.
Yeah. It's a great list of books. I really want to read Hospital, but I haven't quite got there yet. But I've loved seeing it pop up on all the literary
You'll just have to read along once we get to that book later in the year.
I will, and it's a short book too. But like it's translated, and it's the only translated book really that pops up on local awards lists. So that's been really interesting to see.
Yeah, and this is probably a good point to plug Amplify's online directory. It's such a comprehensive list. It's amazing.
I get very I like organizing things.
Yeah. No, I love it. When we were picking books for the season, all I had to do was like type, control F mental health, control F anxiety, and just like, look through what is available on your catalog. And then like while I was
Yeah.
scrolling through, I was like, oh, that's an interesting theme.
We love a good filter. We love a good tag. It makes things very easy for us.
I like to think they serve sort of a dual purpose because especially when you're talking about and like reading about mental health and people's experiences with mental illness, it's nice to have like the warning that it'll be in there, like especially for things like eating disorders that you're not always ready to, engage with it. So it's easier to just sort of click away and read something else. But then also like if you are actively looking to find stories that are representing what you're going through or what your friend's going through or whatever, and you want to like engage with that, then I tried to make it easier to find. So I'm glad it's been helpful.
Yeah. And it's good because, I'm Indonesian and I didn't even think about there being Indonesian Australian books or Indonesian authors that have been translated. And just like while scrolling through your list, I was like, oh, there are actually a few. And so they've gone onto my TBR for someone somewhere in the future.
I hope you get to them.
Yeah. Thank you.
The Wandering is meant to be super good.
Oh, okay.
And
All
it's
right.
like choose your own adventure. So
Wow, okay. I used to love this as a child, so I'm sure I would love that as an adult.
Yeah.
Oh, that just hit me right in the nostalgia. Choose your own adventure books. We used to have a lot of those in our library.
It's so thick, and I was so intimidated by it because I was like, oh, it's like literary. And then at some point realized it's choose your own adventure. So
Yeah.
it's not as scary.
That's cool. Yeah, how interesting though. Um, well, what are your goals for the future of Amplify and where do you see it in 5 years' time?
So in the near future, we are, well, it will be live, I guess, by the time you hear this, but we are opening a short-term pop-up from November through February. It will be at 55 Peel Street in West Melbourne. It's right behind the Queen Vic Market, opposite the 58 tram line. So please come visit us. But yeah, we've got that space till February, and then we haven't locked in what's happening after that, but hopefully it goes well and we can extend it or find another space to move to more permanently. And in 5 years, I hope we have some staff who are also running it. So me and Shwen aren't doing everything all the time, but we have like a little community of people who help us keep the project going.
So exciting.
Very exciting. All my friends will be getting an Amplify book, I think. Just I'll be popping
We'll
into
have
that.
a wrapping station.
Oh, exciting.
I love that so much. And this is quite a step as well, right? Because I know you've done some in-person pop-ups, but they've just been very short-term, haven't they? Like a one-day sort of event.
Yeah. We've done event sales, and then we had our pop-up at Kinds, which would be us packing books the night before and then carting them over in the morning and then packing it down again in the afternoon. And then like in the meantime, we've always had like a warehouse room in my house, which is, to be fair, like now a full-on whole room, but we're going to move everything across. So it'll be really nice to have it not be in my home and like have its own actual space. And the pop-up in Brunswick was really well attended for us literally being sat at like two trundle tables. We've got to meet Priscilla a few times. And,
yes.
Number one fangirl, Priscilla, just wrapping up.
Yeah, we love it. And like people would make quite a trek to get there. So I'm hopeful that it'll be more accessible. It'll be indoors, which will be nice on a hot day. And like it's right near tram, train. It's in the city basically. And we'll have everything, not just our two tables. So I'm really looking forward to it. And it'll be fun being able to actually like recommend and share our whole collection with people.
Yeah, that will be awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing it in person.
Well, I think you've already told us about where listeners will be able to find the physical store, but where can we find your online store?
We are at amplifybookstore.com, and we are at Amplify Bookstore across socials, mostly on Instagram and TikTok.
Amazing. Well, listeners, if you aren't already following Amplify, please go and do so. Can I check, do you do international orders as well?
Yeah, we've got global shipping.
There you go. There's no excuse not to check out Amplify.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Well, listeners, I think go check out Amplify, especially if you are looking for Christmas or end of the year gifts. It is now a perfect time to do that. And we're going to have some upcoming opportunities. We've already mentioned our discount code, and we are hopefully going to do a bit of a competition ahead of the Christmas season as well for those who celebrate. A huge thank you to Marina for joining us on the show. It was lovely. Well, first time I've met you. I know Priscilla has.
Yes, good to see you again.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, absolutely.
I love what you guys do, so this has been a pleasure.
Same to you. And that wraps us up for today. Thank you so much for listening, and thanks again to Marina for joining us today. If you like us, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
You can find us online via Instagram, YouTube, and the Storygraph through novel_feelings, or search Novel Feelings Community on Facebook to find our group. If we've entertained you or taught you something, please consider buying us a coffee to show your thanks. Links in the show notes. All proceeds go towards making the show stronger and more sustainable for the future.
Thank you so much for listening today. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Hope you can join our book club. Bye. Our podcast was recorded on Wurundjeri Land, which is home to both of us in Naarm, Melbourne.
We also acknowledge the role of storytelling in First Nations communities.
Always was,
always will be
Aboriginal Land.